All right, let's dive in. Today, we are cracking the code on the media you see every single day. We're going to uncover those hidden messages that are, constantly shaping how you see the world. So, think about it for a second. When you look at a building, there's a blueprint, right? There's structural supports you can't see holding the whole thing up. Well, our social world works the same way. It's got these invisible structures that organize everything we see, everything we read, and ultimately what we believe. So, what are these rules?
To answer that question, we've got to talk about a really powerful concept, ideology. Now, don't think of it as just some political slogan. It's much bigger than that. Think of it as the invisible operating system running in the background of society itself.
The philosopher Louis Althusser had a fascinating take on this. He argued that ideology isn't something we consciously pick out, like our favorite sports team. No, it's way deeper. It's a set of structures that works on us without us even realizing it. As he put it, it is profoundly unconscious.
Okay, so let's use a more modern analogy to really get this. Ideology is like the operating system on your computer or your phone. You don't really think about the code that's running in the background, but that code determines how every single app works, what you can see, and how you interact with all the information. It's literally the set of rules that programs reality for us.
The analyst Eliseo Varone broke this down with a really simple analogy. Think of it like this. Any media message, a news story, an ad, a movie, that's the input. Our ideological system is the program that processes it. And the output? Well, that's the meaning we end up seeing as totally normal, acceptable, or just plain common sense.
So if everything we see is running on this invisible program, how on earth can we actually see it? How do we even begin to crack that code? Well, like any good detective, we need the right tool for the job.
And that tool is called semiotics. Now, I know it sounds a little complex, but it's really just the study of signs and symbols. Think of it as our official decoder ring for looking at media and figuring out how it creates meaning.
So, semiotics gives us two absolutely crucial concepts for our toolkit: denotation and connotation. Denotation is pretty straightforward. It's the first, most basic, literal meaning of a sign, the dictionary definition. Connotation, on the other hand, is that second layer. It's all the cultural ideas, emotions, and baggage that have gotten stuck to that sign over time.
Let's make this real with a super simple example. We're going to decode the word pig. Seems easy enough, right? Well, let's take a closer look.
First up, the denotation. At this level, a pig is exactly what you'd find in a dictionary or on a farm, a four-legged animal. This is the basic meaning that pretty much everyone agrees on. It's the first level of the code. Simple.
But then we get to connotation, and this is where things get really interesting. That same sign pig can mean completely different things depending on the cultural subcode you're using. So for the Black Power movement, it connoted policeman. For the feminist movement, it connoted male chauvinist. See? Same sign, totally different meanings.
Okay, this brings us to a huge plot twist in our story. So far, we've been treating denotation as this simple, neutral, base layer of meaning. But we're about to flip that whole idea on its head.
Most of us just assume that the denoted meaning, a pig is a farm animal, is just a neutral fact about the world. We think of it as the objective truth, completely free from any ideology or bias.
But is it? Is that first so-called literal meaning really as pure and objective as it seems?
And here is the mind-bending reveal, courtesy of Roland Barthes. He says that denotation isn't the first meaning at all. It only pretends to be. What we call denotation is actually just a connotation, an associated meaning that has become so incredibly dominant, so widely accepted, that we don't even see it as a connotation anymore. We just see it as reality itself.
Which means, as Jean Baudrillard points out, that denotation is actually the most ideological level of meaning. And why is that? It's because it's the one that hides its own code. It takes a culturally constructed idea and presents it as a natural, objective fact.
So what happens when one of these hidden connotations successfully goes mainstream, when it becomes so accepted that it feels like a natural, universal truth?
Let's look at this famous example from Barthes. You start with a simple image, a black soldier saluting the French flag. Okay, the denotation is just that. But that image becomes a signifier for a much, much larger idea, a myth about French imperial greatness and equality. That simple picture is suddenly carrying a massive ideological message. And that is what Barthes calls a myth. A myth is a connotation that has become so powerful, so dominant, that it just feels like common sense, like it's just the way things are. It takes the specific viewpoint of one group and naturalizes it, trying to pass it off as a universal truth for everybody.
So, after all of that, what have we actually learned? Well, what we've done is assemble a complete toolkit for reading between the lines of any message you ever encounter.
So here it is, your decoder toolkit. Just remember, ideology is the program running in the background. Messages have a denotation, which is the so-called literal meaning, and they have connotations, which are all the cultural meanings. And the big secret? Denotation is just the most successful hidden connotation. And a myth is what happens when one of those connotations becomes a universal truth.
So what does this all mean? The big takeaway is this. There is no such thing as a truly neutral message. Not one. Every single thing you read, watch, or listen to has been coded. It's been processed by that ideological operating system to produce a very specific meaning. But now, the power is in your hands. You have the tools. You can see the invisible structures and the hidden program. So the final question is for you. Now that you can see the code, what will you read differently?